Today on Off the Clock, we have Rich Cherry here to talk to us about the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. He's going to talk about what those laws are, the most common mistakes that public employers might make in complying with them. But for all of our listeners, hang on, because he's also going to talk about why these laws also matter to you. Welcome to Off the Clock, the webcast of employment attorneys at Miller Johnson, where we discuss what is happening in the HR world and provide practical insight and advice. Rich, you do a fair amount of work, both helping private sector employers with employment and labor issues, but also with public sector employers, right?
Yes. I've had a long kind of career working with public employers. Before I came to Miller Johnson, I was deputy city attorney for City of Kalamazoo, and also I worked for Cook County in Chicago. So
excellent.
Yep.
So if anybody knows the Open Meetings Act in FOIA, it's you.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right. We decided to have you on today to talk about both of those, both because I think we've got a fair amount of listeners who are with the public sector, and there's pieces with regard to both laws that I think it's important for them to know. But also, we had a really fun and interesting conversation about how many private employers may not understand what these laws require and may not also understand things they should be doing because the laws exist. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Well, let's start with FOIA.
Okay.
FOIA stands for what?
Freedom of Information Act.
Got it. Okay, so that's a good starting
Yes.
place. And what is FOIA? What does it require?
So FOIA is basically it's a transparency law, government transparency law. So all public documents for public bodies, which is defined in the Act, are subject to disclosure.
To anybody.
To anybody.
Can anybody just request these documents?
Anybody, except for people that are incarcerated. They cannot.
Okay.
But anyone else can request documents from any governmental body. There are a few exceptions, like the judiciary. You can't get court documents or anything like that through FOIA. But for the most part, if it's defined as a public body in the Act, then you can get the documents.
Okay, let me just pause there because we're using this term documents.
Yes.
Does this include like electronic communications, text messages, emails?
Anything and everything. So videos.
Your practice must be evolving in an interesting way because I would think. Yeah, so videos, dash cams.
Yes. So you name it, anything that the public body has for the most part, like emails, like you said, text messages that are on employees' phones. So anything like that are subject to FOIA.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. For public bodies, what do you see are their biggest challenges when they have to comply with FOIA? Where do you commonly see them tripping up or making mistakes?
A lot of times with public bodies, and there's examples. Sometimes employees don't know that. Like you mentioned, text messages, that if they have a phone that is part of their work phone, and they text amongst their other employees information that may be either derogatory to other people or to the organization. Those are subject to FOIA because even on your private phone, if you're talking about work-related issues on that phone too.
Okay, so let me just back up. So I have one phone that I use for everything, work, personal. So if Miller Johnson were a public body and a FOIA request included text messages that I've sent,
yes,
my public employer, could tell me to hand over my phone so that they could collect text messages that I sent as to who other employees as part of my job, etc.
Yes.
Okay, this is interesting. This is a big deal. Got it.
You got to be kind of careful.
Kind of. I'm gonna take that just a step further and say you got to be real careful, right?
What you text to your coworkers,
sure.
Because, and I'm gonna just as a example, a big case that came out of Detroit away.
Oh,
back.
I think I know what case you might. Yeah, I know what you're gonna. It involved text messages and a certain mayor, perhaps.
Yes. And the chief of staff. That he was having relations with.
Yes.
And
Kwame
so,
Kilpatrick.
Yes, I didn't want to say his name, but
I think it's been made public.
It's pretty public. And so he did go to jail for that.
And so did that originate with a FOIA request?
It did.
Oh.
Detroit Free Press asked for that information. And they were originally poor FOIA coordinator, which are the folks that are responsible for gathering the information, answering the FOIA, denied it the first time. But
on the grounds of what? This is embarrassing and I don't want to disclose. Is there a FOIA exception for too embarrassing? I don't think so, right?
No.
Okay, got it.
No, there's not.
Okay.
But, they, I don't know specifically what their denial was, but they said it was exempt, and the court in that case said it wasn't. And so those FOIA messages came out and showed that he was having a pretty torrid affair with his chief of staff. Yeah. So again, you got to be careful what you text or email.
So if I'm one of our listeners who's maybe in HR, my takeaway would be, we really should probably be training and educating our employees, if we're a public employer, that in reminding them that anything they text to coworkers, other employees in the organization, or email or whatever videos you send are subject to FOIA.
Exactly. Okay. Had another case where, of course, can't say the client. Another case where text messages were sent between employees and it had pornographic materials. And I was subject, those text messages were subject to a harassment complaint. And they came out that, they were
subject to FOIA.
To FOIA.
Not only could a potential plaintiff get them, but members of the press or anyone.
Or even employees can ask for it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
so an employee can send a FOIA request to their own employer?
Yes.
Oh!
Those are fun. Those sometimes create a little hostility. I had another case where an employee, folks were getting raises. She was not one of them. And so she FOIA'd all of their compensation materials. And so to find out who was getting a raise and why she wasn't getting a raise.
Is there anything that public employer could have done to proactively try to make that information not subject to FOIA? Or in this case, is that just going to be subject to FOIA and the employer just needs to know that?
I think it's the price of doing business. And so you can't make things undiscoverable, I guess, unfoilable. Foilable, I think is a word. But
it is now.
It is now. So you can't make things unfoilable. There are some exceptions ways you can exempt certain documents, but they have to fall within those exemptions.
Specific exemptions. Yeah. What are, just by way of example, is one of them attorney-client privilege, I would think, right? Yes. So anything that was created for the purposes of getting legal advice.
Yep. And others are there's a huge section in law enforcement exceptions. And so, as you know, a lot of public bodies like cities and counties have police departments. A lot of those FOIA requests are for police reports, but some are for personnel files of police officers. And for the most part, those personnel files are exempt.
Okay. Specifically just of police officers.
Just of police officers. And some of our public sector employees don't understand the distinctions. Like, why can't we exempt police officers,
Right.
but we can't exempt other employees?
Okay.
And so it's part of the carve out that they put in the statute.
Yeah.
So
it's just in the law. It's what the law says.
Yeah,
it's just what the law says.
But yeah,
Okay.
but there's some logic to it because police officers' jobs are pretty dangerous, and so
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I would think it would be partially to protect their identity from the
Exactly.
public, right? I mean, there's personal information in a personnel file.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a personnel file. So that does make some sense to me. Let's talk then about FOIA's relevance to private employers.
Okay.
How does FOIA potentially impact private employers? I mean, I think the starting place is for private employers. They may want to make their own FOIA requests from time to time for business reasons, right? And they can do that.
They can, yeah. So it's important to learn how to craft your FOIA request to get the specific information. I mean, you want to be broad enough that you get what you need, but you want to be specific enough.
Oh, it sounds like an art.
It is an art. And so how we help is to help those folks who are those clients that don't use FOIA on an everyday basis. And so in order to craft a specific FOIA request to get documents for employment purposes, say I'm going to hire somebody from that used to work in the municipality. I want to get the personnel file. I want to make sure I get everything.
Oh, that's an interesting take. So in HR, like a recruiter or an HR department could FOIA personnel files if it's not a police officer, which I just learned, right? If they're thinking about hiring the person and they previously worked for a municipality or a public employer, they could FOIA those personnel files to see
what you got.
You got.
Yeah. So I think FOIA is a tool for, and not just in the employment landscape, but for if I'm doing some type of zoning or planning or something like that to get those government documents.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's really true. My experience is that, yes, an organization may have lots of reasons to maybe submit a FOIA request to a public body, but somehow that generally lands on an HR department to do. I don't know why, right? But the thinking is the HR department would know how to submit a FOIA request. Yes, it seems like that. So I think that's right. But a good point. It may be completely unrelated to an HR reason. And also to your point, if you want that request to be effective, it is worth talking to somebody like you because how you write that request really makes a difference in terms, number one, of whether it's going to be rejected based on some sort of exemption or the information, how helpful the information is that you get back.
Right. And also sometimes you might get a denial. Yeah. And so you can ask your attorney, Miller Johnson attorney, that you want to appeal. And so the appeal process is somewhat formal. You have to state the reasons why you believe your FOIA request should be granted. And if the appeal is denied, you have the right to sue.
One other way that I've seen a lot of private employers maybe make a FOIA request is to get information about an arrest or some incident that occurred regarding an employee, whether it's while they were at work or off duty, that they think somehow matters to the organization, right? So there was maybe an accident while I was driving a car, and a police report was filed. Right. And my employer would love to get a copy of the police report. You could use FOIA to do that.
Yeah, and I've had clients ask for that information for police reports, and it gives you a lot of information. You can determine whether or not your employee is telling the truth about that incident.
Yes.
And so it's always good to do, especially if you have an employee that drives And so you want to know, as part of their job,
Yes.
what they actually did for
what happened, or if there was an altercation or something like that. I can think of one other reason why private employers should really be aware of and understand FOIA, and that's they may themselves be giving documents to a public body, right, or a public employer for some reason. And so I think what you're going to tell me is the documents about their company that maybe they've turned over could be subject to FOIA and disclosed to others.
Yes,
is that right?
Exactly. And you're also depending on the public body to make a determination whether or not that document should be released.
Yeah.
So they determine what exemptions that apply to those documents. And so, you're at the mercy of the public body. And if you wanted like confidential information, you submit to the public body that you think is confidential. It might not be.
It might not be.
Yeah.
Right. So they might want to talk to somebody like you before they turn over information or documents that they wouldn't want put on the front page of the Kalamazoo Gazette, for example, right? Because there may be ways that they can try to protect that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Should we turn to the Open Meetings Act?
Oh, yeah. Fun.
The OMA,
The
as
OMA.
we call it. I think the OMA is fascinating, actually. So the Open Meetings Act is what? What does that do, and how is it different from FOIA?
Again, another public transparency act that in this circumstances, that meetings that normally public bodies have meetings. They have a board or a commission that meets and makes decisions. That's the governing body of that organization or municipality. And so this act ensures that their meetings and their decisions are made out in public.
Okay. And anyone can go.
And anyone can go. So it's part of our democratic system. It's very important. And it shows that citizens have the power to, keep government honest.
Okay. Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
What are the biggest concerns you see with complying with the Open Meetings Act? I'm guessing it might be not realizing a meeting is really a meeting and subject to the Open Meetings Act.
That's 100% the issue. So,
yes.
So the public meeting basically is defined, right? It's what is a meeting? And so a meeting could be a conversation over email if you're making decisions. So if you're deliberating, if the public body is deliberating and making a decision, even over email, that could be that is a meeting subject to the Open Meetings Act.
And most decisions made over email the public has not been invited to participate, because that would be literally impossible, right?
Yep. And so
so I would think that that's a big concern. Understanding, having that board, making sure that board understands. What is it? Is there a number of people on the board who have to be a part of it that would make it a meeting?
It depends on the number, but it's a quorum.
Okay.
So a majority. If your board or your commission, if they're present, then if anytime there's a deliberation or a decision made during that meeting, that is subject to OMA.
Can public bodies hold meetings virtually, or do they have to be in person?
So
that's probably, and I bet the answer changed during COVID and may or may not be different even now.
Yeah. So let's go back before COVID. For the most part, the statute states that back before COVID, that a public meeting had to be accessible to the public. And so in a public forum. And so that would be like a brick and mortar building, so they can access it. Occasionally you would have a commissioner or a director of the board that would be on vacation.
Okay. Or maybe incapacitated. Let's just give him or her, right? Maybe they had surgery and they
couldn't make it.
Yeah, they can't get to the meeting.
Right. And so the statute was silent on those issues where the person either appeared commissioner or director appeared either over the telephone or Zoom wasn't a huge thing.
Yeah,
so
right. It was before Zoom, imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine those times.
Yeah. So the statute was silent, and the advice during that time was, yeah, you can participate virtually, but just keep in mind that you could be, it could make an argument that it's a violation of FOIA or Open Meetings Act, but under certain circumstances, as long as you don't, some of the legal advice was as long as you don't count them towards quorum and they didn't participate, then
Didn't actively say anything.
Yeah.
So somebody had to keep them silent. Like it was some administrator's job to make sure Sarah Willey didn't actually say anything in the meeting or participate in the meeting. But there was an argument it was okay for me to be present and kind of sit and listen.
Yeah.
Okay,
And some attorneys, some municipal attorneys said, okay, you could possibly even count. It was kind of a split kind of
count toward quorum, maybe, but okay.
Yeah. So
got it.
But then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't part of the governor's
emergency
orders
Yeah.
that she had. You couldn't meet in public. You couldn't have meetings more than, I forget. I try to block that out, but but yeah,
Right.
you couldn't meet in public. The governor's emergency orders allowed meetings via Zoom, so business could get done. And then when her emergency orders got challenged, eventually the legislature put a fix into the law. However, what happened after we got out of COVID was this law that explicitly said you have to meet in public. So there wasn't any gray area anymore. So except for if you were military duty or you had some type of disorder or ailment that prevented you from going to the public meeting, and you could participate via Zoom. Now, what we tell clients is, and most of our clients that are municipalities or public sector clients they have their meetings in public just like they used to
in person.
in person. But occasionally you'll have individuals or again commissioners that are either on vacation or something like that where they want to meet. Can I participate via Zoom? And the answer is no.
Well, that clarified that.
So, but what they could do again is the old advice is you don't count towards quorum and you can't engage in any decision making or deliberation. Right?
Got it. So there could be a public meeting in which the public body is present a quorum of the public body is all present in person. They're the ones deliberating and making the decisions in person. It's open to the public in person, but there wouldn't be anything wrong with the public body also making the meeting accessible via Zoom for people to attend via Zoom. Because I've noticed some school board meetings, for example, are still providing both options.
Yeah. No,
and so there's nothing wrong with that. So long as the in-person part is met, it's okay to also say people can attend via Zoom.
Yeah, and the law is more directed to the commissioners or the directors.
Yeah.
But yeah, the public can participate via Zoom if they have those type of capabilities for that municipality.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about, does the Open Meetings Act touch on private employers at all? Like, is that, I would assume it's important for private employers to know they should have access to public meetings if there's a business reason for them to want to attend a public meeting, right?
Right. And so, again, some of the decisions that are made, like for instance, if you're a private company and you submit a bid to the municipality, that bid is open. So they have to make that decision in an open forum, right? So you know that it's not any backdoor dealings from for contracts for governmental contracts, and so again, it's open to the public and the private company. They can access that meeting.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Great information today, Rich.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about FOIA and the Open Meetings Act. You've actually made both very interesting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Which is a good thing, which is saying a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.